Hey guys, welcome to another day with Zimaleta. Another day in a doctor's house. So, welcome to my show. I'm about to disassemble the front end, change the water pump, change some pulleys, and change the tensioner itself. And basically I'm going to show you guys how to put on the belt and all of this stuff in the video. Plus I'm going to have a close-up GoPro view and this view right here. So a lot of this might be time-lapse, some of it might not be, so I'm gonna try to pick and choose. And just enjoy the video, guys. I'm trying to get better at recording these videos, so you guys gotta enjoy them. Thank you. So let's dive in. So in order to change the water pump, you will actually need to disassemble everything in the front. You'll actually need to remove everything that I'm actually getting ready to remove. And if you're a pro, you might be able to do it without removing it, but I really don't see no point in keeping this stuff around if you will be replacing the water pump, because we'll actually need to go ahead and begin by removing the grill. And once we actually remove the grill, we're gonna need to remove the headlight assemblies by actually first removing the headlight. I'm just gonna call them eyebrows. I really don't know what the correct word for them is. So I like to start with the left one and go ahead and remove this. Try not to lose these type of screws. They are pretty much a Torx type of screw. And of course using a Torx drill like I'm using, this is a very easy and fast process, as you guys could see. Of course once you do remove the lights and the grill and everything else, it is time to remove the radiator support. But for mine, I just have the bolts, and they're 13 millimeter, and as a matter of fact they are not actually matching up. 3 of them is one kind and another one looks just a little bit different, but it does not matter, they will all work fine. So let's go ahead and remove these 4 bolts here. For the most part this should be just a 13 millimeter type of socket, but I've seen them being Torx type of sockets and everything else, because anything from Freightliner, Dodge, and Mercedes, they used whatever bolts that they used. And then of course if you get in your second-hand Sprinter, you don't know what was used down there. You don't have to actually disconnect the hood latch like I'm doing, but I'm doing it because it's just gonna be in my way. So get loud now, the voices, they're getting loud now, getting loud now, the voices. So now that I have taken everything apart, it is time to actually remove the AC condenser. And you don't actually have to take the bolts and remove the AC condenser, because a lot of times these AC condenser bolts, they get really stuck on there. So you really don't want to have to mess with them, because you'll just end up breaking something. So unless you need to put another AC condenser, I don't recommend you actually just disconnect and just twist that out of the way, just like I did. And go ahead and start removing all these other connections. Yours might be just a little bit differently than mine. Last time I actually disassembled it, I ended up using a little bit kind of like a different setup, and this kind of works for me. I'm just using a lot of 10 millimeter bolts, and it's really easy for me to assemble this front end just like it is over here up top where the radiator is. So of course go ahead and remove the fan. You'll want to take that out of the way. And once the fan is removed, you could start removing the intercooler. And the intercooler just got a couple places where you could just remove, loosen your fittings and stuff, and take that out of the way. And the radiator, it is going to be good. Go ahead and use some kind of some kind of can to catch it. Like you could use your old oil type of changing type of container. That's actually what I'm using. You could, I guess, never have too many of those. I actually have quite a few myself. So I'm gonna drain everything out, and then what I'm gonna try to do is go ahead and replace the pulleys while I'm at it. I'll first actually need to remove the belt in order to do that. And the tensioner type of wrench, it is, well, it's kind of like an Allen wrench shape. It's a Torx. It is nothing special about it. It is Torx, however, which is important, number 60. So you'll want to actually put that onto the tensioner. And what I like to use for the handle to extend it to make it a lot easier for me when I'm changing belts, especially when I'm doing it by myself, I actually like to go ahead and use my jack's handle, which is located in your passenger side. If you still have one of these originals, which is great. It also came with some nice tools. Well, they're not like nice, but they're really handy. Kind of like some of those Torx, you know, and you know, like just the little things. It's because it's just a normal type of tools that you'll end up using. So just use that handle and put it inside the Allen wrench, and you could just easily loosen your belt and remove it or install it by yourself. I've done it in many of my videos. If you guys want to see how to do it, just watch one of my videos when I'm changing the belts. And of course, I have many different ones out there. So, you know, look around because I have some good ones and some less than good. But of course, all my information is good. And I try my best with my videos. Keep trying to improve them as we go along.
Like a daze, but oh, I'm feeling crazy as I know I'm running late. Let's wait just one more day. I know I'm running away from moments. What am I becoming? I guess something's broken. I guess something's broken.
So once all the hoses are removed, you could go ahead and start disassembling the water pump, and just go ahead and remove it. It's no wrong way about it, but I would still use kind of like some kind of like a star pattern to remove every single bolt. You know, and you could remove the big ones first and then remove the little ones, or you could, whatever's easier. I think that would be actually a pretty good technique, either the small or the big ones, because the least you need to change the socket, you know, for your tool, the quicker you could actually remove that stuff. So just remove all those bolts, then pull the water pump off. So anyways, basically, in order to replace the water pump, you're going to need to go ahead and remove the actual fan itself. And to remove the fan, it's actually pretty easy. You could use a bigger screwdriver to try to kind of like jam it in between the fan, kind of like housing and stuff, and in between something. Just stick a screwdriver in there and just remove the fan itself. And it's pretty easy to do, and you could actually do like just like the way I'm doing it, and use a couple different tools to try to, you know, remove that. And then
Look, I'm falling in and out of time. Hope that you come home. Please pick up the phone. I need to know if you are fine. I know I'm running away from moments. What am I becoming? I guess something's broken.
So basically, what I want to do next is go ahead and remove this tension right here.
Something's broken.
So if you removed your belt and you're checking your pulleys and they just freely spin, just, you know, don't try to really save, because if you're an expedite, you're gonna end up losing big when one of those pulleys fail, because chances are it's going to happen at night. You're not going to have the right tools. You're probably not going to have the like anything, or maybe even a flashlight, something as simple as that, and you could end up losing the load, and you just don't want that. So I recommend go ahead and replace the tensioner or the actual tensioner pulley. They're very easy to replace. You know, just look at this video, because it's going to be a pretty good indicator, kind of like what I'm doing, because it's definitely really easy to try to do that. Of course, you're gonna need to remove the behind a fan, the actual metal piece that the fan goes into. This one's just a little bit more tricky because it's trying to rotate as you're trying to remove it. But if you're gonna follow the system like I'm doing it, and I'm using two tools at the same time to try to do it, it becomes really easy when that's done. So so you could just end up doing it like that, just using two, because when you twist them to the left and the other tool is holding kind of to the right, it's a lot easier to take this stuff apart. So you could use some of these techniques that I'm using, and it should improve the way you're changing this type of stuff. You could see when I'm spinning these pulleys here, these pulleys they are making, well, you cannot really hear the sound, but they are making a dry sound to me, and they're spinning really freely, guys. They're just spinning like really fast, like little wheels and stuff. And when pulleys are good, they're not supposed to actually spin that fast, you know, because there's actually bearings in there and stuff like that, and there's all kinds of grease in there, and it basically prevents it from being spun so quickly. So you know you got a good pulley if you try to rotate it and it kind of stops. It just basically doesn't want to go good. So, but anyways, getting back to it. So the next thing you want to replace is actually the pulleys. As you could see, that these two pulleys over here, they are different size. One of them is a smaller pulley with grooves, and another one's a little bit bigger. You could actually take the smaller one and use a regular type of pulley with grooves. I actually would recommend it because that other pulley, it's kind of made a little bit weird. There's actually no grooves to it. It's kind of like a little bit flat in a way. And over time, because it's spinning, it does kind of create like a really minor grooves, but they're just not enough. So I do recommend you changing that little one, because that little one, I've seen it break so many times, guys, more than I could count. And I also think that little one can contribute to belt wear, because your belt is actually not getting inside the grooves, and it kind of needs to, and basically it's just I don't know, like I just think it's going to wear out your belt sooner, because it's not doing, you know, its job properly, I don't think. But you might disagree. I'll agree with you if you disagree, but you know, that's just my take on it. I like that one, a little bit bigger one, because it also has a lip on it, and chances are it's going to help keeping your belt in line and not slipping off the tensioner, because the tensioner itself and the water pump, as you could see, they're really smooth. It's really kind of like easy, you know, to pull that stuff off. So you'll want to go ahead and you know, replace those pulleys. Really easy to do. Just one type of socket. I believe it's a 45 for the Torx, and just put new ones there. Make sure nothing falls out of those things. Just make sure, because sometimes they have like a little metal piece behind it, sometimes even a little pipe inside of the pulley. Just you know, take it out. If some of those things get stuck kind of like a bolt together and stuff, don't worry, you could actually maybe like just kind of slightly beat it out with a hammer, because they get seized on there, I guess, over time, and it looks like it's one piece, but it's really not, because these pulleys, they're just regular pulleys. If you got those little plastic caps on your pulleys and you're kind of thinking how to pull them off, it's really simple. You just basically take a little flathead screwdriver, just get it in there like in the corner and just snap it off. Then it's going to expose the bolt for you to actually pull it out. Look at this video, because it's going to be a pretty good indicator, kind of like what I'm doing, because it's definitely really easy to try to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and replace the full tensioner on mine, because my tensioner recently has been giving me problems. I already had 3 problems this year where the tensioner, probably because it's not as strong, it does not have a, you know, a lot of force, my serpentine belt ended up slipping off about 3 times this year. And I'm just gonna go ahead and use this new one that I had for a very long time. I'm just gonna go ahead and install it, and as you can see, it just takes a couple bolts to install it. These are E-sockets. The socket that I'm using right now is a E10. Yours might be a little bit different, you just never know, so just check, make sure yours fit correctly. Because not all of them are going to be exactly the same. I think E10 is kind of like a 8 millimeter type of socket. If I'm not mistaken, I could be mistaken just a little bit. And E12 would be like a 10 millimeter, you know, sort of. But the reason you want to use these E's is because if these bolts are very stuck on there, and sometimes they are, guys, because a lot of times, you know, guys use like Loctite and stuff on those things, and you know, when they install them, they really get seized. But other times it just hasn't been done in such a long time that the bolt is basically, I'm not sure what it's made out of, but it's possibly made out of some kind of steel. Maybe it's galvanized or something, but you're actually putting it into aluminum block, and these bolts, they end up oxidizing, therefore they're getting kind of like stuck to the engine and stuff. And I really hope you don't have that situation where you're gonna break one of them, but in case you do, don't worry, because they are not high-speed steel. You could actually just drill into them. They sell these kits where you could actually you know, you could actually buy them like Harbor Tool and Freight, some of them for pulling out bolts or even screws. I'm gonna make a video and show you guys how some of those kits look like, so that if you have the situation where you broke a bolt off, you could simply drill into it, and the way that these things work, where you know, to actually twist the bolt out of there, you know, once it breaks, when you drill into it, those little tools are kind of like little drill bits. They're a little bit pointy at the end, but they're countersunk differently. So instead of like unscrewing itself when you twist in your counterclockwise, it actually bites in, and you're able to actually twist that bolt out of there. But you know, in worst case scenarios, those bolts are really stuck, and you're just gonna be not really lucky in that case, and most likely you're gonna get a like, you just have to use from smaller drill to a bigger size, and just go ahead and drill the bolt out of there until it really comes out, you know. And if it comes out, great, you know, you're lucky. If it doesn't, then you're gonna have to retap the hole, which is also going to be videos in the future. I'm gonna show you how to do that, because I actually know how to do everything, guys, and it's just a matter of time before I actually make some of these videos. As you could see, I always work, and by working, I'm still recording videos every day, but I cannot actually record what I want to because I'm working, you know, that particular day. But I still record, I guess, videos that are helpful, and some of them are vlogs and everything else. so then get into the water pump. As you could see, it's got like many different, you know, like bolts and stuff. You got 4 bigger ones and you got the rest of the small ones. So it doesn't really matter like how you're gonna take it apart, but by this time, you know, you probably already have removed your pulley and stuff that's on the water pump. If you didn't, go ahead and remove it, and you'll want to, you know, free everything kind of look around it, and then just go ahead and loosen some of the hoses and stuff that the water pump kind of like plugs into. And you'll want to make sure, you know, to check those fittings and stuff, make sure those hoses are good. I actually recommend you to change all of these hoses when you're actually doing a water pump job. Just save the old ones, you know, don't throw them away, just keep them as a spare. You just never know what you're gonna need them for. You don't have to like cut them up or nothing, but you know, sometimes when these rubber hoses, they get too old, they get really tiny pin-sized holes in them, and what happens is these tiny holes, they just will sort of like start releasing your well, you know, like fluid and stuff, and you just don't want that, because you know, if your water is going to escape out of the engine, it's not going to cool down, and it's just going to be a big mess. So also guys, you know, what I want to let you know is you know, and the new water pump that you're gonna install, you know, if you got a regular metal seal from the Mercedes Sprinter, if you got an OEM stuff, you're most likely going to be fine. You could just use that metal seal like it is and put it on the water pump and install it. But with me, I don't know, like I like a little bit extra protection. I went ahead and just got some RTV type of lubricant. I got the blue stuff, and what I did is actually applied on the actual water pump itself, and I put the seal on there correctly like it's supposed to be, and then I applied a small amount but an even amount on the actual gasket, and then I started actually aiming and installing it onto the Sprinter, because I just don't want a chance of a leak, and kind of like what was happening to me, and this is why I'm replacing the water pump. It's not that the water pump actually failed. I'm pretty sure the water pump is still good, but what happened is with me, the seal is what was leaking, but it was really kind of tough to tell, but I had a pretty good judgment call. I kind of knew that it was the seal, because once it was cold outside, you know, it started actually losing some water, and I could see that it's coming from the middle of the engine. It was not any hoses, nothing was loose. And then once the engine actually warmed up, after I drove it for a little bit, you know, it stopped leaking completely. And by this time I already have drove home, and I started it up on a cold start in the morning, and it was just a little bit chilly outside, but it's South Carolina, I mean, how bad could it be? It was not leaking any more water. So I know that the water pump is actually good, but I had this brand new water pump, so I went ahead and installed it with the seal that I actually picked up at O'Reilly's. It's not very expensive, it's like I think like $3, but so anyways, yeah, like that's how you install it, and then you just end up putting everything back like the way you found it. Screw everything back, make sure all your fittings are good. If you have replaced your water hoses, you know, and clamps, then good job for you, because now you're going to experience the problem a lot less. And just make sure everything's nice and tight, and go ahead and start putting everything together. Once you actually put everything together, then you could add some radiator fluid. So it takes about 3 gallons of fluid. So once you actually remove the water pump, it drains majority of the water. I'm not sure if there's still any inside the system. I've heard even Mercedes told me it takes like 12 gallons, like a long time ago before I actually worked on Sprinters. I don't know how they gave me that number, because I've never put 12 gallons of water into my engine. I just don't even know where that water would go. But anyways guys, I used all makes and models type of fluid, and that's what I actually and I don't buy the stuff that's already mixed, because I always suspect there's probably some water somewhere in the system, you know, and I'd rather get the stuff that's not mixed, because it's going to be diluted, and it probably will mix the right way with that water. So I just basically take first and pour the complete gallon in there, and once I do that, I pour a gallon of water, and then I follow it with this mixture again. and till it's completely full, and that way I think it's actually works out pretty good, and it's all good. But anyways, guys, so I have already replaced everything. Everything is good. I have you know, started it up, test drove it, and it's actually working really great. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you guys are my subscribers, thank you so much for watching and subscribing and liking and just being so awesome, guys. I really appreciate it. If you guys not a subscriber yet, please subscribe. You're gonna find my channel interesting. If you watch this video, you most likely will find other videos interesting, and if you find some video you don't like, let me know kindly. Most of you guys, that's the way you've been letting me know, because some of the videos, I understand, especially from season 1, the sound quality is not the best, but I'm working to fix that. And of course, the choice of music is not the best due to copyright laws and stuff. I cannot use the music that I would like to use, so I thought it's important to use music in my videos, but I guess it's not because I had many people complain. I only had like a few complaints, but it's because I think music is a little bit distracting, especially if you're trying to learn how to do a certain service. But anyways, guys, thank you so much. God bless you. Take care, and do ask me questions if you have them. I will actually answer. So take care. Bye bye.